It takes a lot of hard work and luck for a band to get successful. And sometimes the dumbest things can make it all fall apart. From clashing egos to creative battles that went too far, here's the real reasons why these bands called it quits. Guns N' Roses was already burning out when asked to cover the Rolling Stones' Sympathy for the Devil for the 1994 film Interview with the Vampire.
I'm a man of wealth and taste.
According to Rolling Stone magazine, Axl Rose and Slash weren't really talking to each other at that point, so when they screened the movie, they did it separately and arrived at different decisions about producing a song for the soundtrack. Slash hated the movie and didn't want to record the song. Axl loved it and wanted to get started right away. Slash ended up relenting because he thought there might be a silver lining. If the song got everyone together in the studio, then that was a good thing. He was being too optimistic, though. Axl was never in the studio when everyone else was, yet he still wanted to micromanage Slash's guitar solo. And then Axl decided to add an identical guitar part directly over the one Slash had already recorded, which was both baffling and insulting. Slash stuck around for another couple years, but has always cited that cover track as the reason for the band's demise. He wrote in his 2007 memoir, "If you've ever wondered what the sound of a band breaking up sounds like, listen to Guns N' Roses' cover of Sympathy for the Devil. If there is one Guns track I'd like to never hear again, it's that one." Slash did eventually rejoin GNR, and they are still touring to this day. However, it is without original members Izzy Stradlin and Steven Adler. Limp Bizkit has always cited Rage Against the Machine as one of their major musical influences. Rage Against the Machine, meanwhile, has expressed regret over that legacy, telling Rolling Stone they felt really bad that we inspired such bullshit.
It's just one of those days!
But as it turns out, even the older kids can sometimes be prone to childish behavior. When Limp Bizkit's Break Stuff beat Rage Against the Machine's Sleep Now in the Fire for Best Rock Video at the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards, Rage's bassist Tim Comerford interrupted the acceptance speech by climbing to the top of a 20-foot fake palm tree and then refusing to come down. Comerford was arrested for disorderly conduct, but he never really seemed to think it was more than an act of personal politics. However, bandmate Zach De La Rocha told the press that the incident had left him feeling humiliated. The band broke up for the first time not long afterward, and that particular incident is often cited as one of the driving forces behind the split. However, the group reunited twice and split again in 2011 and 2024. In the last breakup, frontman Zach De La Rocha injured his Achilles tendon while on tour in 2022, which forced him to stay seated while performing. After doing that for a while, they canceled the rest of the tour. In January 2024, drummer Brad Wilk posted on Instagram that the band would not be playing live again and apologized to fans. Even though they were only together for 3 years, Cream sold 15 million records during their late 60s heyday and constantly sold out shows. They also played loud, very loud. Cream's stack of amps grew exponentially as their popularity did, until Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce each had a triple stack of Marshalls. Drummer Ginger Baker told Guitar World, "By 1968, I was just a poor bastard stuck in the middle of 3 incredible noise-making things. It was ridiculous. The incredible volume was one of the things that destroyed the band." There were other factors too. Baker and Bruce were constantly at odds and were ultimately unable to resolve their differences. The band ultimately split up in 1968. Everyone blames Yoko Ono for the demise of the Beatles, but it wasn't just her constant presence that broke up the band. In fact, by 1970, the Beatles had a whole mess of problems: financial, legal, and personal. While many feel the need to blame one thing, it was more of a culmination of a decade of interpersonal relationships evolving, all while being cast into the stratosphere as world-famous musicians. What's more, the Fab Four were growing in different directions. Drummer Ringo Starr spoke about the band's breakup in a 2008 TV interview. He admitted to the host, "It was a bit of a drag. It broke up, even though we all wanted it. We had been working steady for 8 years, and we'd been these brothers, and certainly, that was over."
We'd all grown up a little more, and we weren't prepared to put in the time and energy for each other.
Some would say that the secret to R.E.M's longevity and success was the fact that the alternative rock band's membership stayed as consistent as it did for the longest period. From 1980 to 1997, the core remained Michael Stipe, Mike Mills, Peter Buck, and Bill Berry. Berry, the band's drummer, left in 1997 following a brain aneurysm, telling Rolling Stone, I'm at a point in my life where my priorities have shifted. I loved my 17 years with R.E.M, but I'm ready to move on to a different phase of my life. The group continued with a rotating cast of percussionists until 2011 before announcing they were calling it quits after 31 years.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
So, what was the real reason R.E.M broke up? As Mills told Rolling Stone, the band had floated the idea around since 2008, but they still had contractual obligations to fulfill. Ultimately, though, they knew it was time to sail off into the sunset when they did. Mills said, "It's not because we have to or we can't stand each other or we suck. We're happy, but we're done." Stipe summarized it succinctly in the initial breakup statement. He said, "A wise man once said, 'The skill in attending a party is knowing when it's time to leave.' We built something extraordinary together. Now we're going to walk away from it." Since then, R.E.M has reunited on stage for rare performances, but they maintain that a full-blown reunion is out of the question. White Zombie's distinctive groove-based brand of industrial metal knew how to get moshers thrashing and dancing. From Thunderkiss 65 to More Human Than Human, the band's biggest hits still receive regular rotation at heavy metal clubs. While they officially formed in 1985, it took a while for them to break out into the mainstream in the 90s. In 1998, though, the news broke that the party was over for White Zombie, as vocalist Rob Zombie went solo. According to Zombie's comments to MTV News, the breakup had been in the cards. He said, "This thing had been dragging on forever. I was thinking about it that morning and I called up White Zombie guitarist Jay Younger and said we needed to get everyone on the phone and talk it over and figure out what's going on." White Zombie bassist Sean Iseult stated that the band had been on hiatus for a year. While she wasn't surprised about the breakup, she said that both she and Younger were blindsided by Zombie's solo venture. Iseult told One on One with Mitch LaFon, but the slap in the face was that his solo record came out like the next day. So he had spent that year making a record, knowing that we weren't going to be a band again. Mention the Police, and everyone thinks of frontman Sting. Yet it was a combination of Sting, Stuart Copeland, and Andy Summers that made music magic. As far as seminal bands go, the Police didn't have the longest run, starting in 1977 and going on a hiatus in 1984. By 1986, though, the trio had played a literal and figurative passing of the baton show, where they handed over their instruments to U2. Even U2 singer Bono could see that this symbolic gesture held two meanings. U2 had been anointed as their successors, and the Police were done. The Police tried to get together for one more album in 1986, but Copeland broke his collarbone before recording commenced, and Sting's heart wasn't in it anymore. So, what was the real reason the Police broke up? It's fairly obvious to every fan of the band: Sting. The Police went on hiatus because Sting's solo career started to take off, and it never stopped after that. Yet, there had always been friction and tension in the Police, mostly because of Sting's dominant personality. Sting told Rolling Stone, "For the semblance of democracy, you have to pretend more in a band. A band is a democracy." By the end of the Police in the 80s, it wasn't a democracy at all, as Sting confirmed. The Police regrouped for a Famous World Tour in 2007, but it's highly unlikely they'll ever be a full-time band again. Sonic Youth doesn't often receive the acclaim they deserve. The rock band broke out in a time when synth ruled the airwaves and grunge loomed on the horizon, yet they stuck to their guns, playing music the way they wanted on their terms from 1981 to 2011. The three constant members from beginning to end were Kim Gordon, Thurston Moore, and Lee Ranaldo. Gordon and Moore dated before starting Sonic Youth. In 1984, the pair married and became renowned as one of rock's most iconic couples. So imagine the double whammy of confusion when the news hit that Gordon and Moore were separating after 27 years of marriage in 2011, and with that came the end of Sonic Youth. According to Gordon's comments to Elle, Moore started an affair with a woman named Eva Prinz, whom he worked with on another project. After Gordon discovered text messages between Moore and Prinz, they tried to work through their issues, but Gordon claimed Moore never stopped seeing Prinz. Gordon told the outlet, "We never got to the point where we could just get rid of her so I could decide what I wanted to do. Thurston was carrying on this whole double life with her. He was really like a lost soul." The Talking Heads continue to be spoken about to this day, thanks to their insatiable and always infectious 1977 hit Psycho Killer, which seems to appear regularly in film and TV nowadays.
Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est?
The band formed in 1975 and were together until 1991 when singer David Byrne announced that Talking Heads were done during an interview. As it turns out, the other band members found out about the breakup at the same time as the rest of the world. They'd been on a 3-year hiatus and embarked on their own projects, but the news still came as a seismic shock to the group's members. Was the band over, or did Byrne just decide to leave in his own unique way? No one quite knew. According to the Los Angeles Times, the band members claimed that Byrne wasn't the best communicator and probably wanted to leave to pursue his own solo career, so this was how he handled it. They would play again at their 2002 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony, though. For his part, Byrne apologized for how he handled the ugly breakup in 2023. He told People, "I have regrets on how that was handled. I don't think I did it in the best way, but I think it was kind of inevitable that it would happen anyway. We have a cordial relationship now. We're sort of in touch, but we don't hang out together." The early 2000s erupted with a plethora of pop-punk bands, from Blink-182 to Good Charlotte. Sum 41 factored in this mix too. The group released a stream of albums and played regularly from 1996 to 2025. However, in 2023, the band announced on their Instagram account that after their next album and subsequent tour, the group would part ways. Speaking to the Canadian press in 2025, Sum 41 opened up more about their decision to call it quits. Bassist Jason McCaslin and guitarist Dave Bach explained how they were stunned to receive an email from vocalist Derek Whibley, who indicated he wanted to break up the band. They described how it was an email from the heart, as Whibley described his specific reasons for coming to this decision. As Whibley explained, he was approaching burnout in the years prior and believed the band was about to peak, so he didn't think there was anywhere to go thereafter. Plus, he wanted to do something else. Whibley said, "I'm not as excited about it as I once was, and I don't want to do it just because it's a great paycheck." Hey, guess what? The dude who wrote Girlfriend in a Coma was kind of quirky. Bet you didn't see that one coming. Morrissey's quirkiness helped the Smiths become a staple of the 1980s. Without him, the Smiths might have been just an ordinary pop group singing about silly stuff like young love and getting dumped. But why settle for standard heartache when you can go the extra mile and put the object of your affection in a coma instead? There is such a thing as too quirky, though, and Morrissey might have maxed out his quirkiness when he decided that the thing missing from the Smiths' musical offerings was more 1960s cover songs. When the band released the single for Girlfriend in a Coma, the B-side featured a cover of the 1968 Cilla Black song, Work is a Four-Letter Word. Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr told Record Collector magazine in 1992, "I hated it. That was the last straw, really. I didn't form a group to perform Cilla Black songs. I made a decision that I was going to get away on holiday. The only place I could think of where I knew there'd be sunshine was LA, so off I went. I never saw Morrissey again." Libertines frontman Pete Doherty struggled with a serious drug problem when bandmate Carl Barat finally told him to take a break from the band and get clean. After that, Doherty did what anyone would do. He quit cold turkey, turned his life around, and was invited back to the Libertines with open arms. Just kidding. While the rest of the band was on tour in Japan in 2003, he kicked in Barat's apartment door back home. According to The Guardian, Doherty made off with an antique guitar, a video recorder, a CD player, and a laptop, among other things. He spent 2 months in prison for the crime, but jail didn't seem to fix any of his problems. Weirdly, the rest of the band seemed to forgive him, but the good feelings didn't last long. Doherty was asked to get clean again, but instead of working on that, he decided to just form another band with some guys who didn't care whether he was a drug addict. The Libertines officially broke up in 2004. However, the band has played together sporadically since then, including a June 2025 show at the Glastonbury Festival. Punk rockers NOFX embodied the spirit of doing it on your own terms. Beginning in 1983, the group toiled away at making a name for themselves. After exploding in popularity, the major labels came knocking for their signature. Instead, NOFX signed with the punk-friendly Epitaph Records. After some time with Epitaph, NOFX decided to release their music under their vocalist Mike Burkett, aka Fat Mike's, indie label, Fat Records. They remained a regular and revered ensemble in the alternative music community, but after celebrating 40 years as a band, they decided it was time to head off to the big punk rock graveyard in the sky. In October 2024, NOFX played their last ever show in their home state of California. Burkett told Westword in 2024, "Before a show, I don't want to play it, and I've had that feeling for years. Then I get loaded and I go on stage on booze or drugs, or booze and drugs. Then I have a good time. But I don't want to live like that anymore. When I made the decision, it was, I'm just tired of doing this over and over again when I don't want to. For a bunch of laid-back California hippies who sang smooth hits like Peaceful Easy Feeling, certain Eagles weren't feeling it. In July 1980, the band wrapped up its tour with a fundraiser for Senator Alan Cranston. Pre-show, Cranston personally thanked the band, and guitarist Don Felder replied, "You're welcome, Senator, I guess," according to bandmate Glenn Frey. Frey confronted Felder, later remembering, "Felder looks back at me and says, 'Only 3 more songs till I kick your ass, pal.' And I'm saying, great, I can't wait." However, in his memoir, Heaven and Hell, My Life in the Eagles, Felder claimed that Frey came over while we were playing The Best of My Love and said, "F*** you, I'm gonna kick your ass when we get off stage." The next day, Eagles bassist Timothy B. Schmidt called Frey to see what was up, and Frey told him the band was done. But while you can check out of the Eagles, you can never leave. The band reunited for a massively successful tour and live album in 1994, and they continue to tour, albeit with a changing lineup, today. A devastating illness shut down Blondie in its prime, snuffing out one of the most popular bands of the late 70s and early 80s. Singer Debbie Harry and guitarist Chris Stein, who together wrote Heart of Glass, Dreaming, and Rapture, were also romantic partners, and when Stein got sick, it consumed Harry's life too. According to the New York Post, around the time of the band's official breakup in 1982, Stein was diagnosed with a rare disease which caused painful blistering on his skin, mouth, throat, and lungs. For several years, Stein was out of commission, and Harry stayed by his side. Harry told Saga in 2014, "People say that I nursed him, but I was his mate, and went to the hospital and stayed with him." Blondie reformed with a different lineup in the 90s, for better or worse. Once christened the only band that matters, The Clash sputtered out in 1986. In 1999, frontman Joe Strummer claimed that band members were exhausted, saying, "I felt we'd run out of idea gasoline." But Strummer gave another reason. The band didn't want to turn into their dads, or at least rock and roll dinosaurs. Strummer said, "We saw what The Who were like at the end of their tether. It's a bad scene. You quickly turn into nothing." In the late 80s and early 90s, Uncle Tupelo was pioneering the roots rock Americana sound, and the band's most prominent members, Jay Farrar and Jeff Tweedy, then went on to mainstream success with new bands Sunvolt and Wilco, respectively. So what happened to Uncle Tupelo? Creative differences between Tweedy and Farrar, which led them to stop talking. Then drummer Mike Hydorn left, but Farrar told Relics in 2005 there was one more issue, the creep factor. When Farrar's then-girlfriend Monica Groth was sleeping, Tweedy had stroked her hair, and Farrar caught him. Farrar said, "I found out later that he was telling her stuff, like he loves her." Farrar hung on, but eventually quit the band for good, blowing up Uncle Tupelo in 1994. It was the end of a prog metal era. Queensrÿche singer Jeff Tate told Rolling Stone in 2012, "We've all known each other for 30 years. For it to end in such a hostile way, it's just mind-boggling." Tate said the trouble started early that year, when he and the band's management objected to the rest of the band's decision to turn over its merch management to an outside company. But the catalyst for the split was a pre-show altercation. While backstage at a gig in Brazil, Tate confronted the band about rumors that he was about to get replaced, as various members of management and crew had just been fired, all of whom were Tate's relatives. Just before the band hit the stage, Tate says drummer John Rockenfield said, "We just fired your whole family, and you're next." The show went on as planned, but that was it for the founding vocalist of Queensrÿche. Sure, the Zombies' 1968 track Time of the Season frequently pops up in movies now, but when their album Odyssey and Oracle first came out, it was a flop, or so they thought. Keyboardist Rod Argent told Express that the band's income cratered because our fees for playing live had gone down a lot and we had no money. The Zombies split because they couldn't afford to stay together. Argent explained, "We later found out, after we'd broken up, that we had hits at some place in the world at almost any time. It was just in the UK. We had less success than anywhere else." Lead singer Colin Blunstone remembered,
"By the time the album was released, there was no band."
Don and Phil Everly were really brothers, were really successful musicians, and they fought and bickered like both. The story goes that Don informed Phil that their July 1973 show at LA's Knott's Berry Farm would be their last as a duo because he was, quote, "tired of being an Everly brother." Then Don showed up drunk to perform, Phil left the stage, smashing his guitar on the way out, and the Everly Brothers were over, except for an occasional reunion. They may have pioneered alternative rock, but recording their 1990 breakthrough album Ritual de lo Habitual was so tension-fraught that Jane's Addiction agreed to do the first Lollapalooza tour in 1991, organized by Jane's Addiction singer Perry Farrell, and then break up. That was probably for the best. Jane's Addiction set on the first Lollapalooza ended early because Farrell and guitarist Dave Navarro got into a fight in front of thousands of fans. By 1992, Jane's Addiction was done. Though even when they did reunite again in 2024, Farrell and Navarro still ended up coming to blows. For the first iteration of Adamant's punky new wave band, the substance matched the style. The band's debut record, Dirk Wears White Socks, sold well, and besides, they had to be good if somebody tried to poach most of their musicians. Sex Pistols manager Malcolm McLaren also handled Adam and the Ants. But when he quit in 1980, he convinced everyone in the band except Adam to join him. McLaren used them to create a new band called Bow Wow Wow, best known for its cover of I Want Candy, and then found some more guys who like crazy costumes to be his new ants.